Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of the podcast. And today I'm in Knightswood at one of Scotland's many remembrance gardens, cenotaphs that we have all over the country, obviously, in respect for those who paid the ultimate price for our futures. And the main reason for the visit today was to talk about Lee Rigby, who unfortunately was murdered on this day. But since arriving, the place has really caught me. So I'm going to talk about two things, really. The horrific murder of Lee Rigby and why we should remember that. Then, how important these places are to our communities and the purpose they serve and should serve for eternity. So the first thing is Lee Rigby. Unlike majority of people who we pay respect to here, Lee Rigby didn't lose his life in an armed conflict. Lee Rigby was murdered and in such a horrific manner, purely because of what he stood for, what he was a member of, and that was our British Armed Forces. And it was a horrific crime. I'll never forget the horrific pictures I seen of one of his murderers approaching a person in a bus stop holding a camera with his hands. I actually thought he had red gloves on. There was that much blood stained on his hands, and that horrified me. And a couple of years after that, I was privileged enough to meet Lee Rigby's mother, Lynn, at an event where we were raising funds, which were some of it was going to the Lee Rigby Foundation. And I stood on stage with her as she spoke to the people in the audience to thank them for their help and their support. And I can't remember a word she said, because all I could think of for that moment or two when she was speaking was how bad I felt when I saw those horrific videos of this man with his blood stained hands. And I couldn't stop thinking how bad I felt, but how bad must she have felt, because she would have seen the same footage as we all seen that horrible day. And I'm delighted that the Lee Rigby Foundation is now a thing. I'm delighted that Lee Rigby's son, a boy who should be saluted by one and all, has won awards for his efforts in raising fantastic amounts of money for other people, for other children who have lost their fathers while serving our armed forces. And that family really are an inspiration, and should be an inspiration to all of us, because the mother, with her efforts with the Lee Rigby Foundation along with others, and even his own son now taking the mantle. For a man he'll probably have very, very few memories of. All he has is pictures and words of other people. And it's got to remind us that that's what Britain's became. Britain has become a place where our armed forces are not only in danger when they're overseas protecting the world, they're now often, we've seen another situation where a soldier almost lost his life last year. But they're even at risk walking their streets. And that's not the Britain that I want to be part of. I want to be part of the Britain that commemorates in places such as this and shows respect to such as this, and things that we should be important to all of us. When I came up here today before I started filming, I've passed this place in Knightswood many times. This is the first time I've actually walked into it and had a look around, and it's an absolutely fantastic example of the value of community and the value of respect, dignity, standards, morals, all these things rolled into one. And it was quite inspiring for me when I walked in here today and I started walking around these trees, as you'll see over here, each planted on I think it was the 75th anniversary of the end of the war, and each of them are paying respect to certain people, and each of them being donated by various different groups. We have one which I found most inspiring, which one of the trees was actually donated by the staff of Central Station. Now that's fantastic. There's regimental groups donated trees. There's one over there from the residents of Knightswood, the district I'm in right now, and it's just fantastic. And then over the other side, we have commemorative benches, plaques. It's just a great place to be, and we need these things. It's helping rebuild my faith in communities. When you see something like this, so respectful, so proud, so many things all at one time, and we need more of this, because this, to me, is what Britain's all about. This is a great example of what we're good at. Not murdering on the streets people who serve in the armed forces. Not this flags that are all around the place, the Union flag. Not desecrating that. Some people are scared to even show a love for that flag in their own country. And that's wrong. We need to get back to the place where we're all proud of being part of the United Kingdom. Now, showing that in signs as much as I do, we're a proud unionist. I have no problem sharing that information, celebrating that ethos. But everybody doesn't need to be like that. But detesting this country from within, detesting the flags and symbols of this country, are optional. You don't have to like them. But what you don't need to do is be disrespectful to them. Staying up to date with events around the world can be difficult, where it's impossible to consult a single source for the full story. Narratives that shape public opinion often just reinforce media and corporate-backed vested interests. It's hard to know what information to trust. See what the media is exaggerating, sensationalising, over or under reporting. That's why I've been using Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that combines news from around the world in one place so you can compare coverage. For every news source, you can see if it has any political bias, how reliable the reporting is, and who owns them. They even have a blind spot feed that highlights news disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. Take a data-driven view on the news and stay current. Get news from thousands of sources worldwide in one place. I've been using Ground News to help me get all the world's news in one place and give a more balanced opinion on what we read and viewing who is telling us the truth and who isn't. Subscribe via my link to get 40% off the Vantage subscription. It's the one I use to get unlimited access to every feature. Your subscription can not only help my channel, but also help Ground News, as it makes the media landscape more transparent. If I hated a country, I hated a flag, I hated its peoples, I hated its traditions, its standards, its morals, if I hated a country so much, I wouldn't live in that country. I would never go to a foreign country and try and turn it into a version that I wanted. I would accept that country or move on. And there's too many people these days who are scared to be proud of the very things that make us and should make us great. But I must admit, I was actually feeling emotional when I started walking this garden. As I say, I've passed this Great Western Road, one of the busiest artery roads in and out of Glasgow, going to the west. I've drove up there many's time, being a coach in kids football, taking many games around this area and many pitches. So I've passed this a million times, but this is the first time I've stopped and actually walked through these gates and actually taken in what it all means. And it's a thing, to be fair, I have done often when I've been on my travels the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, and I've stopped off at memorials like this. In Southport, of all places, up and down Scotland, in Belfast, and in London. The city of London's full of great memorials to those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for us. And they should be respected. They should be all be as well kept as this, and honoured and loved and cherished, because this is part of what it is to be British. And we owe it to those who come behind us to maintain these and pass on the baton of respect to them. And often I felt that was unachievable. But I'm beginning to get a bit more hope and faith that the good British people will ultimately help improve this ridiculous situation we're in, where places like this are frowned upon by certain members of our communities. Our flags, tokens, our very Britishness is often put to task. But I can see and sense a revival, and good often triumphs over evil, as many of the men here paid the ultimate price to ensure back in the First and Second World Wars. So thank you very much for reaching so far into the video. Appreciate every single view. And if you want this video to be reached far and wide, click the thumbs up, put your comments below, hit the share button. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. But the most important thing of all, unless you are the type of person who thinks it's acceptable to murder young men like Lee Rigby on our streets for purely being members of our armed forces, unless you're the type of person who can show no respect to places like this, the flags and the emblems that they celebrate, then know you. But
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.